Yeah, so today we are going to talk about the Singapore ACRA and IRAS requirement. I'm very happy to all of you to join me today in this 1 hour session. I will be speaking for about 30 to 45 minutes. After that, it will be Q&A. Yeah, but if you have any burning questions, do type it out in the chat and I will see how I can answer your query. Thanks to ACRA for facilitating this sharing session, and do join their community. I believe in subsequent lessons, you will be able to see podcasts or other information that ACRA will be hosting with other companies as well. So for SOAS itself, we are a professional service and accounting firm which does Singapore Incorporation, and we provide accounting services. Before 15th of November, we have a huge discount. But yep, let's start. Myself, I'm Wei Xiang. At the bottom is my email, weixiang@soas.com. Alternatively, you can look for me on LinkedIn. I've done 10 years of finance in Singapore. I'm a chartered accountant, and I have been incorporating company for a period of time. So today, our key content would be how to start a Singapore company yourself. So for startup founders, do you need a Singapore corporate secretary to start a company for you, or can you do it yourself? The short answer is yes, you can do it yourself if you want to save costs, and I will show you how to do it today. And then you will need to choose a Singapore company name. We do have some tips for you. And the other one is, if you are doing everything DIY, you will need to be aware of the ACRA and IRAS regulatory and tax requirements. So ACRA is the body in Singapore that is in charge of the companies in Singapore, and IRAS is for the tax portion. In ACRA, you can find the list of all the businesses that are operating in Singapore. Yeah, and the last part is, since we are on a DIY basis for startup finance, if you're a startup founder, what should you know? I have came up with like 5 of the key things which I hope you know, and I hope you grow. Yes. So in this slide itself is a high level overview, where if we take a look at this, today, if you want to start a company in Singapore itself, you would need one Singapore resident director. So today, if you are a Singapore citizen, if you are a PR, yes, you are eligible to be a Singapore director. You need one shareholder. You need to have share capital of $1. So you would see that the share capital requirement is very relaxed. And the other one is, you will need a Singapore registered address. So, if you are a Singaporean with a Singapore registered address, even if it is your home address, you can do it yourself. And you need a local secretary. So this person can also be yourself, but you will need to have knowledge of the company's information itself. Yes. And then the company secretary and the company director cannot be the same person. So you will need at least 2 persons. Yeah. So this is the high level overview of what you need to set up a company by yourself. Yeah. And for the rest is, if you are a small company, you do not need to appoint auditors. So some of the people, they start with asking me, do you need to be audited? And the other one is, for larger firms itself, you would need audit in Singapore. And the last one is, where we will go into details subsequently, is what is the compliance required for a startup. And we will also be sharing some of the tips itself. Yeah, so when you're starting a company yourself, briefly, you will need to choose a company name, and then you will need to choose business activities. What is your company doing? And then you would need to choose an appropriate corporate structure. Usually, for our case, a private limited. You will need to decide on financial year end, and you will need to appoint your directors, and then click on the ACRA links, and then you are done. So over here, acra.gov.sg, and you press login to BizFile. This is the ACRA website, which you can Google. And once here, you can apply for a new company name. So this is where, if you are a Singapore individual, you can apply for a new company name for $15. And once you apply for the name, you can incorporate your local company. So all of this can be done easily. Yes. So this is how, you do not need a company to do it for you. And then sometimes they would ask, what is the difference between the different business entities in Singapore? In Singapore, we have the sole proprietor, we have the partnerships, limited liability partnerships, and company. I think for for the key things for many of us here, we would want to do it with a company. And what is the unique part of a company of what is the purpose of a company? Is that we would have is a separate legal entity, and you would have limited liability. So for example, if your company is bankrupt, it doesn't mean that you as an individual is bankrupt. This is why you would need a company. And the other one is the setup fee is only $315. This is payable to ACRA itself. But the cost that comes with it is you need to have annual returns that must be filed. The other types of entities here, when we talk about sole proprietor partnerships, most of them you are taxed at your local tax rate. So if your vehicle business entity were to earn a lot of income, that's where it's not efficient tax planning for you to cover the full taxes to yourself. In Singapore, the highest tax rates you have to pay as an individual, I think is 24%, but for company tax rate is at 17%. So you would see the huge difference, yeah, in terms of tax rates that you would have to pay. So part of actually incorporating your company when you submit it to ACRA itself is you have to prepare your share cap table. So for startup owners, keep it at a minimum $1. That is all you need to do. So in today's presentation, there is a lot of words on the slides because I will be sending you the slides itself, but I will not be reading or explaining every part of the slides. So do follow me, and I hope that I will give you a lot of tips so that you can bring it away and start a company yourself. So for companies itself, you only need $1 to actually start a company. You will need to choose whether it is in Sing dollars or in US dollars. Even if you have multiple people in the company, you can still put the company shares as $1 and have a few people contribute a few cents to the company itself. That is workable in Singapore as well. So directors of the company have a lot of responsibility. They have to ensure that employees are paid on time. They have to ensure that their filing requirements are being met. So there's trainings that a director would have to attend. And as a director, there is a lot of duty because anything that happens to the company, the director is responsible, and they might have to enter jail or fine, which is it's not good on their records. Yeah. For director itself, the minimum is we will need at least one local resident in Singapore. So a Singapore company cannot consist 100% of foreign directors. They have to have at least one Singaporean, which would be where everybody is held responsible for the company duties, but the Singapore director who is in Singapore is a requirement by the Singapore law. The next one is we would have to choose our preferred financial year end. So you can start your company in any part of the year. It can be 2nd July. You can start on today's date, 1st of November. But when should your financial year end date be? Many people set their financial year end date as 31st of December, end of the year. However, in Singapore, for the first three, we will show later in details, for the first 3 years of your company, there's special tax incentive as the Singapore government encourage Singapore companies to be set up in Singapore. If we were to put our financial year end date as less as less than 12 months, we would not be enjoying tax savings that we would have enjoyed. So rule of the time, SOAS tips, add 11 months to your incorporation date, and that is the most tax efficient way of setting the company financial year end. So this is for startups itself. So time to time throughout these 45 minutes, I might say something called SOAS tips. So if you're having your lunch, once you hear SOAS tip, just look up and see what is happening, and yeah, the rest would be not so relevant for a startup. Yeah. So this is the details, and then yeah, so this is looking at the startup tax exemption itself. On the first 3 years, there's 75% exemption on the 100,000 and a further 50% exemption on 100,000. So the maximum cash savings in Sing dollars, which the government is providing, is up to 21,000. For any other Singapore company, so you exceed your third year, you're in the fourth year and the fifth year, it is 17,000. Yeah. So this is where, if you choose your correct financial year end, you would be saving up to 4,000 Sing dollars. And so SOAS tip, add 11 months to your incorporation date. Registered address. All companies would need to have registered address as well. So you need to have an address in Singapore. So today, if you are based overseas, you would need to look for an address in Singapore to help you with it. After your incorporation, you would be able, you will have a UEN. This UEN number is unique to your company. There will be a letter from ACRA, letter from IRAS, and you will need to open your bank account. Yeah. In brief, this is how you set up a company by yourself, DIY. So at SOAS, we do help startup founders set up companies. And before 15th of November, it is at a 20% off. For company secretaries or setting up of companies, we come down to a price of $544. So if you compare $544 against $315, you would see the we are not earning a lot from this service, but we do provide this service to startup founders. Next, part of having a company in Singapore is important for you to choose a Singapore company name. So how do you choose your Singapore company name itself? So this might be a headache, but over here is I have put together some tips for you to choose your name. So the first thing is to stay within the legal requirements. So you shouldn't add vulgar or offensive terms or name resembling government entities. Do not try to play with the system. It is not, because you would incur a lot of time and cost, and it would take time for you to set up your company. Subsequently, for tech companies, many of us here are tech startup founders. We can use the word tech inside your name. We should also use memorable names. So Choke or Grab are some of the companies that we are familiar with. So SOAS tip here, use tech for tech startup. You can use digital for if you are an e-commerce company. These are very common names that my customers will choose, or even future. Yeah. Next is we can consider Singapore's multicultural context when we select our name. And we can look at what our peers are doing. Many of our startups here, we would have competitors, close competitors. Look at what they are doing and choose a name. So this one I have covered. And over here is just as a friendly reminder, you can go back to the ACRA website to register a new company name yourself. So today you wake up with a genius idea, you would like this name. Please go on to the BISFA website, ACRA, and register your company name itself. So we take a quick pause here and say, how long does it take to register a Singapore company? So I have gone through the process. I have gone through the requirements. The next is to understand how long. So for a Singapore company with full Singapore directors, it can easily take 1 day. I have seen it done in a day, sometimes 2 business days. For if we have foreigners and a complicated structure, sometimes it will take 2 weeks. Yeah. So if depending on your business requirements, do leave time for this. The other question that at this point in time I would like to share with all startup founders is, should you set up a company? So given that the tax implications is in place, we should set up a company only when we need to. Alternatively, one of the key things that I would like startup founders to be aware of is, if you are in conversation with people who are providing you with funding, your investors, investors would need to deposit their investment amount into your company bank account. So it is highly advisable for you to set up your company earlier, open up your bank account, so that upon your investors agreeing with you to put money into your company, you have a bank account ready for them to put the money into. However, if your company does not require investments and you are on your own and you are a one-man show and you are tight on cash, in this case, you might want to delay the setting up of your company in terms of tax implication and get the other part of your business ready, whichever it might be. Because if you start your company, for example, today, and you are maybe busy with different work and you only start working on the company 6 months later, you might be losing a lot of tax benefit which your company might be eligible for. And since I have mentioned that starting a company can be as fast as one day, I don't really see the rush in setting up a company ASAP. Yeah. So this is some of the comments which I want to share to startup founders or some of my customers. Next, what is the ACRA and IRAS regulatory and tax requirement? So over here is a timeline that has been created. So today at T, this is where you have register your company, and T plus 11 is where we say that this is a recommended first year financial year end date, and then T plus 18 is the maximum period for your first year end. Within 6 months, in accordance with ACRA requirements, we would have to appoint a secretary. And from your financial year end and you add 3 months, this will be your financial year end. So if we assume that a company is started in January and then we add 11 months, their ideal year end will be in December. And then if we add 3 months, that would be in March. Yeah. And then we will need to have a AGM. So the AGM would be held 6 months after your year end. So that would be in June. And subsequently in July, you will need to file your ACRA annual return. So the things that you have to be filed to ACRA is over here, your ACRA annual return. This is in July. If your year end is in December, it's done 7 months after your year end. And lastly, in November of the year, we will have to do IRAS Form C or Form CS filing. For startups, usually it's Form CS. So to repeat, key milestones to remember, this is number one, your IRAS, and number two, your ACRA. For the rest, there are not there isn't things that you would have to submit to ACRA or IRAS itself, but we would have to prepare financial statements. So this is the one where I mentioned we will need to submit your annual return and you will need to submit your Form C or Form CS. So exemption from audit. Does Singapore companies need to be audited? Yes. So below there are three criteria. Total annual revenue not exceeding 10 million, total assets not exceeding 10 million, and number of employees of not more than 50. So most of us, we might exceed one of them, but as long as you do not exceed two, then you would qualify for as a small company and you do not need to be audited. But even though you do not need to be audited, you will still have to prepare your financial statements, which is required, and that will be called the unaudited financial statements. A financial statements includes your balance sheet, your P&L, and your notes to accounts, highly recommended to be prepared by a chartered accountant. Okay, so we have completed the first portion of what is the finance requirements and what is the ACRA requirements, the tax requirements. There is a lot that I have shared in the last 30 minutes. for companies. And the last portion that I would like to touch on is startup finance best practice. So over here, I will be sharing some personal stories where I have helped startup to manage their finances and would like to share with you guys as a startup founder. I know that startup founders are focusing on their business. You have your marketing, you have your customers to adhere to, and finance seems to be something which startup founders do not worry about that much at the start. But if we do not worry about finance, once the problem compound up, it is a big headache. So over here is I've come up with five of the issues which I would think with these five comments, startup founders would be able to do the company's finances easily. Give me a 30 seconds break. I will just drink some water. Okay, so for the first one, you should be using only company accounts to pay for your expenses. So company accounts can include both a bank account and a corporate card account. SOAS tip, use a corporate debit card. Some like Aspire offer cashback. So the issue is, we as founders, we can always use our personal pay now to pay for the accounts. But how are we going to reconcile companies' accounts? Remember, we mentioned one of the benefit of starting a company is to keep accounts separate, so that even if the company is bankrupt, the directors and shareholders will not be affected. So in such cases, it is a lot easier for your outsourced accountants or your accountants to do your books if all your company accounts is in one or two bank accounts. And if we have a lot of payments via your own bank account, it is very difficult to separate, which are company meals, company taxis, taxi claims, etc. Yeah, so one of the company that I always recommend to my startup peers is Aspire. You can think of Aspire as the Revolut or Utrip of the corporate world. Bank transfers on Aspire is free. There's no annual management accounts as well. And Aspire before 15th of November, if you come to me and I have a QR code for you, you sign up with Aspire and you top up $100 into the Aspire account, you will earn another $200. Yes, do come to me and I will give you more details about the promotion itself. So back to the SOS tip. Use only your company account. Other banks that you can look at, I mean, there's Anex Bank, there is DBS Bank, there's OCBC Bank, etc. But please pay for your company expenses using a separate account. So at the end of the year, you can always give your bank statement to your accountants and say maybe income that has entered the company or expense of the company, it is only inside your dedicated bank account or your corporate card. On a personal terms, we have our personal credit card, which we can earn cashback amount. Today, at Aspire, if you have a sign up for Aspire card, they do give cashback to popular startup software as a service. So your digital marketing tools that you are using, Aspire would give you a cashback. So do sign up with a credit card, with a debit card with them. And that is where you can manage your finance and expense easily and saving you money. Next is we should always keep track of our receipt and bills. One of the key things that I realize startup founders go crazy about is at the start when we pay for different things, we think this amount is small, we do not care. This amount is small, we do not care. But the problem comes when your accountants have to do your taxes at the end of the year. And how then do you actually keep your books all in order? So do note that all receipts and bills have to be tracked. And one of the easy ways to do it is to do it diligently. Anytime you incur any expense, incur it only in the company's accounts. And if you were to use some other accounts, do make sure that you track it in a cloud-based app. Next is monthly or quarterly bank reconciliation. For businesses that are already running, if you have a lot of business transactions, it's very important to tie up what is happening within your bank to your business itself so that you are very clear on the amount that is going in or out. On a personal basis, we would have credit card. Every month, we would check that our spending is in line with what we have spent this month. So similarly for bank, do your bank reconciliations, and this is where you check that maybe if you already have a debit card, there might be some subscriptions for software which you do not require anymore. Maybe your ChatGPT subscription, you subscribe to ChatGPT, but are you using it? Are you really using it? Is it useful? If it's not useful, then you would stop it. Your Zoom subscription, your Google Premium subscription. There's a lot of subscription which startups will need, and I think it's very important to look at the bank reconciliation. For companies that do not operate so many transactions, it's okay to do it quarterly or even annually. Annually is okay as well. It seriously depends on how many transactions we are looking at. Yeah. So the other one is regulatory and tax deadline. If you miss your annual return, you will be fined up to $600 and more for missing the annual return. So I've shared in a slide just now where your annual return has to be filed for most of you 7 months after your financial year end. Many people or startup founders I speak to, when they do not use a corporate secretary and they do it themselves, they do miss out on this annual return filing. So one of the SOS tip that I have here is do not wait for the last month to prepare your tax filing or financial statement. Yes, you would need to file your annual return on the 7th month, but the questions that I have for many of you is why, sorry, sorry, I'm hearing some sound. Okay, never mind, let's continue. The question that I have for many of you is why do you have to wait for the last month before you do your filing? Usually at the end of your financial year, you should already have your finances in place. And if you need help, look for a chartered accountant. Prices outside for freelancers is very cheap, and SOAS also provide this service. If we were to incur this charge, it is very heartbreaking for startup founders. And yep. The next one is adopting an accounting system early. So many of us, when we start, we might use a Google Sheet, we might use Excel, or you might use Google Drive to keep all our information together. There are accounting systems outside like Xero, QuickBooks, Automate, which you can use to keep track of all your information. They are very cheap. Today, Automate even has a free software for startups with revenue less than 50,000. And there are also huge government grants up to 90% of consultancy costs, which startups in Singapore can tap into when onboarding an accounting system. So if you need help with accounting systems, do look for me, and then I will see how I can advise you. And do you know that if you sign up for an accounting system yourself without coming to SOAS, it will cost you 100% of the cost. But if you come to SOAS and sign up through us, we can give you like easily a 10 to 20% discount. The reason is that SOAS has many customers, and we are on board a partners programs with QuickBooks or Xero or Automate, where we can provide huge discounts to our customers itself. Because when you deal with these companies itself, you are paying it on a 1:1 relationship. But when you come to SOAS, firstly, we can teach you, we can onboard you, and then we can give you a price discount. And for those software, they do give us huge discounts for bringing you guys on and being your partner. Another thing is, why is an accounting software system very important? So we talk about invoicing. Today, when you invoice your customers as a startup, you will need to know who has paid you, what is the outstanding receivables, and then is it 1 month or 2 months old? Who are your better paying customers? So that is where the accounting system is important. And the other one is your expenses. Having an accounting system, you are able to upload, your receipts, and it can all be tracked in the system for you to know, how much have you spent every month. And lastly, for investors, they would require you to submit to them your management accounts, your balance sheet, and then your P&L, what is inside what is the current finance state of your company, how many new customers have you brought on in the last 1 month. with an accounting system which is as cheap as maybe $200 a year or even lower, Automate is free. You can do all that. You know, why are you doing it on Google Sheets, spreadsheets, and Google Drive where the information is everywhere? And subsequently, when you want to produce your financial statements, it's also very tough to submit this information to your chartered accountant. Yeah. Yeah, so the other one is with an accounting system, you would have a mobile app. So the mobile app will be able will make it very easy. Today, you know, you take a taxi, you use the mobile app and you take a picture of the receipt. Alternatively, you are having lunch with your colleagues, and then this is under company meal. Just use your mobile app to take a picture of the receipt, and the receipt will enter the cloud. And this will make it very simple for you to keep track of your finances. So Automate, Zero, and QuickBooks are some of the popular accounting systems used outside. So Automate itself, they have a function where you are able to produce your financial reports automatically from the system after you use them, and they are free. So if your revenue is less than 50,000, Automate is free. And as I have shared, you know, whether you are using Automate, Zero, or QuickBooks, if you buy it through SOAS, it is cheaper. So SOAS is your partner. Um, you focus on your growth and we will handle the rest. This is my tagline for SOAS itself. So yeah, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. And before I end, allow me to share with you guys 3 minutes on some of the promotions that we are currently having at SOAS and what discounts we are currently having. Okay, so today, if you were to have to start a company with us and you don't want to do it yourself, we are charging 680 for corporate secretary and starting the company. This would include your company incorporation fee, which is $315 as mentioned just now, and your first year filing fees. The local registered address is included free, and up till 15th of November, this is we have a 20% discount. This discount will close at 15th of November. And in terms of accounting services for startups itself, with less than 80,000 revenue, this will be at $800. This is where we will prepare your financial statements for you, and we would file your taxes for you, and we'll provide you with a software. So do note that, you know, for everything, you can do it yourself, but these are low fees which we are offering for our customers currently. And the other one is, if today you are with another corporate secretary, you know, it will cost you $300 with a 20% off before 15th of November. So this includes your annual filing fee of $60, and also we will provide you a local registered address. Today, if you are already with somebody else and you know there's some unpaid amount inside your contract, we will also cover this portion and give it to you for free. So we wouldn't start our subscription immediately. So hopefully through this sharing session, you would be able to learn about company incorporation, taxes, and yeah, happy to take any questions from here. At SOAS, we are a professional accounting and Singapore incorporated firm. Yeah, is there any questions from anyone on the presentation just now? And which part did you all enjoy? And thanks a lot for, you know, spending your lunch hours over here. Oh, thank you, Erin. Yeah, so I think for startup founders, when I first did this presentation, or I thought of doing this presentation 1 week ago, it's very important for me to update you guys that you can do it yourself. There's no reason for you not to do it yourself. But if you think that you have a little bit more cash to spare and you want a professional to help you with it, do reach out to us. I think the promotion here is very friendly. Yeah. Okay, so I think if there is no more questions, do reach out to me via email and I'll be sharing out the slides with everybody. And I do not want to take up more of your lunchtime. And yeah, feel free to connect. Have a nice day. This is Wei Xiang. Bye bye.